All right, hey VC, I'm Jamie. Welcome back. We're back with another video. I'm back with more vinyl finds. I've got records that I've picked up online from various sellers and also from an antique shop I was at recently. And also I was at a record show that was in Stratford just recently and picked up a few things there. So let's get right to it. You've likely seen this. This is the Dark Side of the Moon 50th anniversary live at Wembley. Of course, spotlighting the classic Dark Side of the Moon fully in concert. And this is part of the 50th anniversary Dark Side of the Moon box set, the deluxe edition. And it may come as a surprise or not, but I decided actually not to pick up the 50th anniversary box set. The reason being is because on the new box set, I mean, it looks great. There's so many goodies inside and, you know, it looks fantastic, especially all the great unboxing videos. But for me, there wasn't any new music on the new box set that wasn't already on this one. And in fact, this one, the Immersion box set of Dark Side of the Moon from years past, actually has more music on this. So I thought, well, you know, there's nothing other than having Wembley on vinyl, which was available separately, and also the book in the new box set is also available separately. So for me, that was kind of a deal breaker. And certainly glad I picked this up on vinyl. This absolutely sounds terrific. And it's got that nice kind of, I don't know, it's almost like the matted or whatever they do for the Pink Floyd reissues for the cover. Now here's the hype sticker here that gives you all the information. Live at Wembley 1974, recorded at the Empire Pool, Wembley, London. Of course, in heavyweight 180-gram vinyl. And even with this one, they include two of the posters from it. So let's take a look at these. And so we got a really nice poster of the clock's time. Okay, let's open this up here. And they're nice size posters. Let's make sure I've got this going the right way. Yes, the goes this way, because there's the artist signature down there. And then also included is the Gerald Scarfe animation tour poster, if I've got this going the right way. The caricatures of the band members, and it's interesting, of course, Gerald Scarfe would later reemerge as the artist for The Wall, but it's interesting he goes back this far with Pink Floyd's involvement with Roger Waters and the band. Okay, so there's that. So those two posters are included with the album, which is very nice, and then the album itself, and it's on a nice polyline sleeve, and it's terrific. It sounds great. That and that. Okay. So again, very happy to pick this up. I have ordered the book, but the book has not arrived as of yet. So there you go. Okay, more finds. I'm kind of a late fan to this band, Marillion, but really getting into this band. And this is the album Fugazi, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Another great Marillion album. This one streamlining the sound a little bit more from sort of their proggier sounds. But this band, you know, with Fish on lead vocals, really often reminds me of Peter Gabriel's Genesis, or that sort of sound or that sort of feel to it. But really enjoying Marillion. Okay, and we'll switch gears to some Canadian folk. How about Ian and Sylvia? Happy to pick this up. This one I picked up just recently at the antique shop that I was mentioning. I went there with my friend John Gray, and we were searching, and it was just endless, you know, various record vendors and sellers, that sort of thing. So this is Ian and Sylvia and Early Morning Rain. And yeah, of course, losing Ian Tyson just recently. So this features two Gordon Lightfoot songs, Early Morning Rain and For Lovin' Me. But very nice. And this is, I think, like their third or fourth album. But very nice cover there. Okay, we'll switch gears again. I picked up some Mahogany Rush. This is Mahogany Rush's second album. And this one not in great condition. I also picked this up at the antique shop. But again, with Mahogany Rush, Frank Marino and Mahogany Rush, Canadian. But boy, you can always hear the Jimi Hendrix influence throughout this music. And he often, I think, dedicated the first album to Jimi Hendrix. But, you know, it's great, great guitar work, great kind of rock and proggy sounds. But boy, so influenced from Jimi Hendrix. You know, you'd swear you're almost listening to Jimi Hendrix if you didn't know what was on the turntable at times. Almost. Okay, and also picked this up. This was an unusual kind of find because I had to do some research on this one. This is, of course, not of course, the album itself, John Lennon's Imagine, but this a particular version. I wasn't sure if this one was an early version or not. It has a really nice gloss on it. This includes both the poster and the little card, which is nice. And I don't really have an OG copy of John Lennon's Imagine. Of course, we all know this. Wonderful album from John Lennon, all the guest stars that appeared on this. George Harrison's featured on this, and you know, so many more great artists. But this does include the poster, and this is not a early 70s copy. I believe this is a reissue from, I want to say, 1983. So we've got... and that's from the label there, so that's definitely a later Capitol issue, and of course the signature of whoever owned it before. Ironically, it came in a Peter Dunn's Vinyl Museum from Toronto sleeve, which is kind of nostalgic, and it also has a kind of a ripped up version of the inner sleeve, but you know, this shows you all the people, you know, associated with the record, that sort of thing. And then, as I mentioned, it does include the original poster, which is very nice, and it also includes the little picture as well. So this poster is really nice. And simply John at the piano. Okay, there's that, and then the little picture that is included. Also in here, of course, John Lennon making fun of Paul McCartney's Ram. There you go. And yeah, so happy to pick this up. But it's really got a nice, it's got quite a nice gloss on the cover. So yeah, really happy to pick that up. Okay, I'll just put this over to the one side here so we can carry on without further ado. Also, I picked this one up at the antique shop. This is a Lyndon's Fan, sort of Scottish folk, and this is back and forth, and you'll notice the spelling of fourth here, and I believe this is a reunion of the band. This is, I think, their 6th or 7th album, but it's going back to the band from their 4th album, so hence the play on words with the title. This is produced by Gus Dudgeon, who was Elton John's producer. Not bad. It's sounding very pop on this one. I like some of the earlier Lyndon's Farm a little bit better. Not bad, but not great. Okay, a Canadian band of sort of the soul funk. This is the band Sweet Blindness, and I think this is about their only album. They had a hit with their cover of Cowboys to Girls on this one. Also, the title track, Sweet Blindness, and it gets a little disco-y at times. But overall, it's got a nice kind of soul funk thing to it. This came out on Quality Records back in 1975. And of course, Phil T., the former owner. Thank you, Phil. But Sweet Blindness, some rare Canadian soul funk there. Okay, here's a Down Child Blues album that has eluded me for some reason until now. Finally picked up a copy of Down Child Blues Band and We Deliver. And again, Stewart, the former owner, maybe that's Martha Stewart, I don't know. Who knows? But another great Down Child Blues Band album, and I love the sort of fun layout to this with the pizza box kind of thing going on the menu here on the back. Yeah, well, if I got that the right way, it sort of opens up like that, and then a nice pizza inside, kind of making me hungry here. And you know, this features the artist, one of the artists, Jane Vassy, who wasn't with the band too long. She's since passed, but she has the track Trying to Keep My 88 Straight. But another great Down Child Blues Band, of course, Don Walsh of Down Child Blues Band. But yeah, really happy to pick this one up. And I just love the cover. It's a lot of fun. Okay, also I picked this one up at the antique shop. Not bad. Fifth Dimension Live. This is a double live album. This one's saying special deluxe record set includes Never My Love, and this pretty much includes all the Fifth Dimension hits. What's interesting for bands like this, soul groups at this time, certainly in the 60s and early 70s, is that when they were performing live, they often had kind of almost like a Vegas style approach to their performances, trying to bring in as many people sort of as possible, especially if they're playing lounges and that sort of thing in terms of different crowds. And that is kind of in this as well. The opening is very kind of Vegas, kind of schmaltzy. What the world needs now is love. Even their like medley and their rendition of All You Need Is Love, it's very kind of show tune that way. Now the whole album is not like that once they start getting to their hits, and they actually do quite a credible cover of Sly and the Family Stones' I Want to Take You Higher. Overall not bad, but it does get just a little schmaltzy at times, but still happy to pick it up, of course. Okay, also picked this up at the antique shop. Big fan of Doug and the Slugs, and I totally forgot that Doug Bennett, of course, from Doug and the Slugs, had a solo album, and this is Animato, the title of this one, but this had the big hit, It's Got to Be Mondays, which I always assumed was a Doug and the Slugs song, but that's actually a Doug Bennett song. It's got kind of that 80s gloss to it, but it's got that kind of blues R&B thing still happening with the sound of this, so it's not too bad, even though he's quite glossed over there on the cover. But yeah, this was nice to pick up, and still with the original sleeve and on A&M Records. Okay, a best of that I didn't actually knew existed. This is a best of Delaney and Bonnie with a cover pretty straightforward there. And of course, it's got pretty much everything that you need. Only You Know and I Know, Never Ending Song of Love. Just love Delaney and Bonnie. Okay, now I'll show you a few things I got at the big record show that was in Stratford. I was very happy to pick up Picture Disc from the Kiss solo albums. This is Kiss Ace Frehley's solo album. Plays great. There's a little bit of surface noise on side 2, but of course his cover of the track New York Groove, and yeah, arguably one of the best of the solo albums, of the 4 solo albums from Kiss, and it's just really nice detail on the picture disc here. So it's like this, and I'll just pop this out here, and then inside we've got that, and they just had the one that was available, but just, I won't take it out of the sleeve here, but just nice detail on the picture disc. So very happy with that one. This to me was the for me at least, it was the find at the record show. Captain Beyond, the second album, and Captain Beyond, the third and pretty much final album. So Captain Beyond, featuring Rod Evans from Deep Purple on lead vocals for the first 2 albums, including this second one. Very proggy, and although with this one a lot of sort of Latin influences, almost sounding like Santana at times on this one, but just a great sound. It's a shame that this band, from the early 70s didn't stick around longer. An American-based band, but as I mentioned with Rod Evans on lead vocals. I love the cover. So much going on there. And then the band here. And then this album was pretty much the Contractual Obligation album. I guess Captain Beyond had broken up after the second album, but they had signed. So this one was on Capricorn, the first 2 I believe on Capricorn, and then they were signed with a Warner Brothers label, and Warner Brothers had the album that they still needed to produce from Captain Beyond, so they got the band to reunite, unfortunately without Rod on this one, Rod Evans. And so, so they have a different lead vocalist on this one. This is Willie Dafford on lead vocals. This one has much more of a streamlined kind of rock sound to it, but still really good. So this one came out, I think, in the mid-70s, 1977, for this one. Not gatefold or anything like that, but quite good. Okay, and this was also another very pleasant find at the record show in Stratford. This is Rush and Hold Your Fire. This is Rush from the, I want to say the mid to late 80s on Anthem. And this has the pop track, Time Stands Still, which features the lead vocalist from the band Till Tuesday, whose name escapes me, but you can post that in the comments. I still really like this album. I know Rush was going a lot more sort of a pop sound for this album, but overall I still really enjoy this album. And I think particularly Geddy Lee's vocals were really in top form with this. And this was where they were starting to really think about making their albums for compact disc. So this album in particular is a little bit longer than some of their previous albums. This one clocks in at almost 50 minutes on vinyl and CD. So, and nice with the inner sleeve where you've got some of the earlier albums. You've got signals there and then power windows there. But yeah, I mean, as I say, it's a little bit more of a pop sound for Rush on this one. For however you define a Rush pop sound, but this is an OG copy, so it's not a reissue, so I was pretty happy to pick that up. Okay, if you follow my Instagram, you'll know I've picked up Jimi Hendrix Experience. This is the Los Angeles Forum, April 26, 1969. Fantastic, and this is a fairly recent issue. It's a 2022. It must have come out late last year, but didn't know it had been issued initially. But this is a terrific performance. Really, really nice. And of course, got to show you the inside. But so good. And it's got a nice little booklet included with this. And I did also pick this up on the CD, but I posted this on my Instagram page. Whoops, yeah, the Experience Hendrix, always with nice reissues. And we'll take a look at the vinyl. And there we go. But yeah, it's awesome. And as mentioned, this features an early version from that year, 1969, of Star Spangled Banner. Of course, he would also do this later at Woodstock, and this is a sort of a shorter version. It's only about 2 minutes, as opposed to the lengthy one he does at Woodstock. But yeah, it sounds great with Jimmy, as always. And I picked this up too. I have this on CD as a 2 CD set, but this is Jimi Hendrix Experience and the album Freedom, just as a single album. So this is actually only disc 2 of the 2-disc set, and this is Jimi Hendrix Freedom, the Atlanta Pop Festival, as you can see with the track listing there. And this was a Walmart issue, so this is actually an American press on this one, but this is on kind of a swirl sort of label. All right. Very cool. Can't get enough Jimmy. Cannot get enough Jimmy. All right, this was a very cool find. I recently did pick up the Rolling Stones, a mono box set. This is a stereo version, of course, of their Satanic Majesty's Request with the cool 3D or lenticular, or however you want to describe the cover. So this was a nice find. And this one did not cost me an arm and a leg. This was, I thought, quite reasonably priced. Now there's a bit of a split there. It's got the gatefold, and it also does have the straightforward inner sleeve, which is interesting. The mono copy with the big box set didn't include the original sleeve, and it's not in the best of shape, and initially it had some weird tape on it that I was able to remove. But on the London Stereophonic, you know, we all know this album, but I never thought I would be able to pick up a cover with the 3D thing going on there. Okay, I've seen this presented so many times. Another album that's kind of eluded me. This is Procol Harum and A Salty Dog. What an absolutely terrific album. And this is on A&M. And I think this is a later press because this has previously released under a different number. Canadian press, but a later one. But another fantastic Procol Harum album. Okay, interesting with David Crosby's passing, and just recently finally got a chance to see David Crosby Remember My Name, and this is David Crosby and Oh Yes I Can. So this was after his stint in jail. He was trying to make a bit of a comeback. This is from 1989. Drive My Car was kind of a moderate hit from this one. Not a stellar album, you know, great cover and everything like that. Nice to have the original hype sticker, and this actually is a promo copy. Jackson Browne's featured on this, but, you know, not a bad album, but not stellar by any stretch. Okay, this is a early Cream. This is a Disraeli's Gears, and this is an OG stereo copy that was in really nice shape. So really happy to pick that up. I don't, obviously not an original sleeve, but on the Polydor label. Always happy to pick up any and all Randy Newman, and this is Trouble in Paradise featuring the track I Love LA. More fun from Randy Newman. An Iron Butterfly album I did not have, and a cover I just find this an absolutely striking cover. The album Metamorphosis. So this is Iron Butterfly. Continuing with their heavy sounds. Nice gatefold on this. And I think with the original sleeve, I do love these older sleeves with all the different albums, and so many of them had. This one was not too bad in terms of including Buffalo Springfield and artists like that, but so often some of the older sleeves would be advertising other albums that if you purchase this record you wouldn't be necessarily picking up, you know, something else like, you know, Sammy Davis Jr. or whatever. Okay, this is a nice little find. This is the band Alive and Kickin', and simply their self-titled and I do believe only album that's on Roulette. They were produced by Tommy James. Of course, Tommy James was also on Roulette, and Tommy James also wrote their title track, Tighter and Tighter. This is a nice album. It's a nice, soulful album, and nice to have both the hype stickers included with this one. The cover's maybe not in the best of shape, but super happy to get this. And I've always loved the song Tighter and Tighter, and was pleasantly pleased with the sound of the album overall. So there's the... Yeah, there we go, the track listing there. And it's got a little bit of writing on the back there, but really enjoyable. Okay, how about the Temptations and Psychedelic Shack? And I believe there's another Temptations album that's coming out for Record Store Day. I can't think of which one it is, but it's another one from kind of their sort of psych soul period. So this is Temptations, Psychedelic Shack, produced by Norman Whitfield. First featuring the title track. And they also do a credible cover of the track War on this one too. And this, of course, I believe, no, this is an American press. I was going to say, I believe it's an American press, but it looks like this is a later, at least, I don't know if this has been Frankenstein or not, but I think that's that would be a later label for this one. So, who knows? It might have been slapped together, but still sounds good. Okay, took a chance with this one. Certainly familiar with the artist Mark Almond, and this is the album Vermin in Ermine. Not bad. I'm not a huge Mark Almond fan. I do like Tainted Love, and this one isn't too bad, but not stellar, but happy to add it to the collection. Early Human League, which I don't often see, and this is the album Hysteria, so really happy to pick this one up. And this includes the inner sleeve too, so very cool. On Virgin. This was a thrift store find. Now I do have this album, but I'm pretty sure that this is an OG copy. It's got the nice matted cover, and this is SP 77009. The album plays great, and generally the cover is in really nice condition. But super happy to pick this up at my local, bit of a rip on the sleeve there, but really happy to pick this one up at my local thrift store, Value Village. Okay, moving right along, we've got Linda Ronstadt, and this is Songs of My Father, and this is the first of 3 Spanish language albums that Linda Ronstadt did, and I forgot what a fantastic album this is. Very well recorded, and she really took a chance making this album. I don't think the record company at the time was too happy with it. Of course, it went on to be a huge seller, and it really is. If you do come across this one, do pick it up. This is an absolutely stellar and very beautiful album. Her voice is just incredible on this album. So good, from 1987. Okay, a little bit more Canadian content. This is Loverboy and the album Wild Side. They had the hit Notorious from this one. Okay, this is when Loverboy, where the hits were starting to, I don't know, not dry up completely, but this is from, I want to say 87. And the stuff of the original sleeve there, featuring the boys. Okay, a real favorite artist. Really enjoy this guy. This is Jesse Colin Young, and this is a live album called simply On the Road. Absolutely terrific. Wonderful, wonderful. He's got such a great voice, and the band is fantastic. Having said that, this album from the 80s, this is Jesse Colin Young, The Perfect Stranger. I'd pass on this. This really has too much of an 80s gloss or an 80s thing going on that just doesn't suit Jesse Colin Young. You're almost feeling like you're listening to Robbie Dupree when you're hearing this album, so I'd pass on that one. But certainly a band I would not pass on is the band Groundhogs. I was able to pick up early Groundhogs, Thank Christ for the Bomb. And really nice condition on the Liberty label. And picked up this later Groundhog album that I was not familiar with at all. Of course, the Groundhog, a great UK-based British blues. But gotta check out the cover to Crosscut Saw. It's like, what on earth is going on there? And then with the back, you're thinking, okay, but they haven't really softened their sound at all. This album rocks pretty good. So really happy to pick up that one as well. Okay, again, changing gears, we've got Tim Arden and Bird on a Wire. Tim Arden, great American folk artist, very troubled artist, and he does, of course, Leonard Cohen's. Now, it's interesting. The album's called Bird on a Wire, which is the correct title, but then on the back, it's Bird on the Wire, which is not the correct title, but then it's the correct title on the label. But yeah, Tim Arden, troubled soul. How about Sammy Davis Jr.? There we go, Sammy Davis Jr. at the Coconut Grove. And as I mentioned, I do have a soft spot for Sammy Davis Jr. This one, again, it's kind of the whole lounge thing going on. Does a very lengthy West Side Story medley that's 2 bongos. But it works. It's only Sammy can. And, you know, it's got Sammy doing his thing throughout, again, in the sort of the Vegas showcase kind of thing. But I enjoy it. I like Sammy. Okay, here's an interesting compilation, probably part of a series. This is Let's Have a Party, and this is the Rockabilly Influence 1950 to 1960 Rock of Ages, and I think this is on EMI Capital, but I'm not sure if this is a European release or not. But this has got Wanda Jackson, Johnny Burnett, Gene Vincent. Really nice. Rocking from start to finish. Okay, this was a pickup at my local thrift store, and this was sealed copy of Missing Persons and Spring Session M. And of course, I believe that that's Missing Persons, the letters rearranged. Really surprised to pick this up and surprised to have it sealed in great condition, and forgot that Terry Bozzio or Bozio, I'm never sure how to pronounce his last name. I forgot he was a band member with Missing Persons. Okay, I got to add to the AC/DC collection. How about AC/DC and Blow Up Your Video? Again, this is AC/DC getting into the late 80s, where I was kind of losing touch with this band. I was a big fan of AC/DC through the 70s, the Bon Scott years, and enough of the early 80s AC/DC with Brian Johnson. But I was kind of starting to lose a little bit of interest. But revisiting some of these albums, they are still enjoyable, still rocking. Okay, this is something out of left field. I picked this up from a local seller. This is the band Gerard, named after band member Gerard McMahon. And it was described to me as sort of a southern rock, but it's not southern rock at all. This is actually more like Chicago. You can almost say it's like Chicago light. In fact, it's produced by the guy who produced Chicago albums, and also James Penko arranges the horns on this one. So there's lots of horns. You can it's a nice presentation, but you can barely make out the lettering on this one. But this did not include the original inner sleeve, but I found a very enjoyable album. And speaking of enjoyable albums, finally adding this one to the collection, of course, Mamas and the Papas, If You Can Believe Your Eyes and Ears. Of course, this features the censored cover with this over the toilets. I've never come across an original cover, but of course, Monday, California Dreamin'. Wonderful, fantastic album. Okay, we got some obscure Canadiana here. This is Graham Shaw and the Sincere Serenaders. and simply titled that. I don't think there's an actual title for this album. Yeah, it's just Graham Shaw and the Sincere Serenaders. He had the hit Can I Come Near, which got a lot of airplay in the early 80s. This is on Capitol. At first glance, you would say country, but it's got a little bit more of a country pop kind of sound, very sort of middle of the road, easy listening. You can almost say kind of yacht rock thing going on. But yeah, Graham Shaw, Can I Come Near? Graham Shaw and the Sincere Serenaders. Okay, this is flautist Paul Horn, and this is a Canadian release on Mushroom Records, and it's simply called a special edition. And this is not a best of, but this is just a carrying on with the Paul Horn catalog. But this is an absolutely gorgeous package. This has got that sort of faux leather cover here. And I did keep, and this originally had the, was it originally sealed? But yeah, it had the hype sticker that was included. I believe, yes, I did pick this up sealed and was really surprised about that. And then it's just got an attached, oh no, it's not attached. I thought this was attached, but it's got a really nice booklet that's included inside. You know, nice, very nice presentation. Paul Horn, a jazz flautist, but also did very sort of atmospheric work. He's known for his album Inside, which was recorded inside the Taj Mahal, which is incredibly ambient, atmospheric record. But yeah, this was a really nice find, and it's an enjoyable album. You know, it's not stellar, but boy, in terms of just packaging and presentation, very, very nice. Okay, let's see what else we got here. We've got just kind of a blind buy, the Henry Paul Band. Henry Paul was originally from the Outlaws, so this does have a sort of a Southern rock kind of feel going on to it, despite the rather odd cover. That's harping back to the 50s. It does have that kind of light Southern rock kind of thing going. I do have a copy of this, but happy to pick up Hawkwind in Search of Space, and this one's in nicer condition than the one I have, and it also includes the booklet, and of course this completely opens up like this, and yeah, and this does include the booklet and the original inner sleeve as well. I'm gonna have to take this out. Of course, these Hawkwind albums are always, this is space rock at its finest, and of course these Hawkwind albums are always so incredible the way they open up like that. And I'll just put this over here and then quickly show you the booklet, which is included. I don't know if there are any other items included with this, but whoops, happy to get that. Not a whole lot in this booklet, just some funky stuff, some nice artwork. There's that, and then the simply straightforward original inner sleeve, but it is original. And so there you go. And we just got a few more. How about Simple Minds and Sons of Fascination? Always like Simple Minds. Happy to pick that up. And not one, not two, but three Canned Heat albums. Canned Heat, this is Canned Heat Live, Handle with Care, recorded live in Europe. A terrific live album. And typically with one of these albums that's just live in Europe, they don't really give you much indication exactly where everything was recorded, but on Liberty Records, and nice gloss to the cover. And then we've got a Canned Heat album I was not familiar with, One More River to Cross. This is a later Canned Heat album where they do sort of an ode to Fats Domino, a Fats Domino medley on here. Let's see. Interesting artwork. Of course, Canned Heat, great American blues rock. Very nice. And we've got one more, which is Canned Heat and Hallelujah. And I keep studying this cover. I'm thinking there's got to be something sinister or weird going on somewhere in there, but no, I can't see. It seems like very straightforward cover, unless I'm missing something. But another great Canned Heat album. All right, Paul McCartney album. I was surprised to pick up. This is Press to Play, and this is Paul McCartney after Pipes of Peace, so this is 1986. This is not a bad album, but this is produced by Hugh Padgham, and so Paul McCartney is definitely trying to, get into the pop charts or the pop sound at this with some some, well, questionable results. Overall, not bad, but I don't find it's a great Paul McCartney album, but happy to have the inner sleeve on this one. And I do absolutely love the cover. Beautiful cover. Okay, and still with the 80s sound, how about Belinda Carlisle and Heaven on Earth, featuring Heaven is a Place on Earth and I Get Weak. And we've also got, I was really surprised to come across an original Kraftwerk and Trans Europe Express. I do have a reissue of this one, but so nice to have an OG copy that is on Capital EMI. And one last one, we've got how about Gary Puckett and the Union Gap, and the incredible Gary Puckett and the Union Gap featuring Lady Willpower and Over You. They had generally a pretty good sound overall, but unfortunately, much like Paul Revere and the Raiders, were often in these kind of strange outfits. But good kind of blue-eyed soul, Gary Puckett and the Union Gap. Okay, that's going to wrap it up for this one. We'll chat again soon. Do take care. Bye-bye.